Hey guys, what's up and welcome. It's Matthew here, the designer and developer from South Africa. Let's continue with our database design. So as you can see, these are our entities. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 4 entities. Now what we are going to do, we're just going to get into these entities one by one, and we are going to create tables with fields. Okay, so let's say here we have users. Okay, we have users, and these users, what we want from the user, first of all, let's say user ID. Okay, we want a user ID, okay, a unique field that will some sort of identify each user. Apologies about that. And then from then we want a username. Okay, and then we want a username. After that, do we really need a last name? For the sake of this chat, we don't really need the last name. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to minimize things that will make this looks complex unnecessarily. Okay, so we've got the user ID, we've got the username. Okay, what else do you need? Hmm, let's see. Do we need a last scene? Okay, guys, so this is what we must do. When we are designing the database or the models, okay, we need to design it in such a way that it's ready to scale. Okay, so what do I mean by that? This is what I mean. I'm not going to limit myself about a lot of things. Okay, the best I can do, or what we can do, we can just leave things as they are and not use them, knowing very well, should when we are developing, we feel like we need these things, we don't have to go back into the database and change the schema. So my apologies about that. So let's say user say name. Okay, user say name. Okay, user say name. Do I really have to use these users? I don't think these users really have to be here. Okay, I think we can make this cleaner. Okay, ID, name, surname. All right, ID, name, surname. What else? I'm thinking of last scene. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to use this, but let me put it there just in case. Okay, let's say, what if you want to delete a user? Okay, in this case, um we are not really going to delete a user. Do we really have to delete it? Or let's say block a user. Okay, let's say block a user. um let's say is, excuse me, is blocked. I think this is going to be a boolean, so that's going to true or false. I think this is fine, guys. Okay, this is fine. We don't really have to think much about a lot of things. Okay, so as you can see, guys, we've got the users. Now the other important thing is, let's say, the relationship. Okay, the relationship. So a user will create contacts. So we are going to get the user ID in contacts. Okay, so let's just say here, let's type here contacts. Okay, I think we can just type here rel. Okay, which stands for relationship. Okay, sorry, this just means that user has got a relationship with contacts, because we are going to have user IDs in contacts. And also on chats, we are going to have some user IDs. Okay, on chats, we're going to have user ID. Apologies about that. And then in terms of statuses, status is going to be a different table. Okay. Statuses. Okay, this will have a relationship with statuses. So this table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this table has got a relationship with 3 other tables. Okay, it makes sense to me. Okay, it makes sense to me. This will be here, this will be here, and this will be there. Okay, I think that's all for now. Okay, I think that's all for now. Mm, that's all. And what about the statuses? Who can view your status? I think that will be too complex, okay? Then let's go to another one, which is, let's say, contacts. Okay. And then we're going to have a contact ID. Okay. Apologies about that. We are going to have a contact ID. And then in this contact ID, we need to have 2 user IDs. Okay. We are going to have 2 user IDs here. The first ID is for what? Let's say, let me make a query, an example of a query. Okay, in real life, I am going to get this ID 001 and I'm going to query all the contacts or all other IDs, okay, which is these users, all other IDs that are associated with 001. So it looks like to me, I'm just having user IDs here. Okay. But at the same time, let me just make this practical. Okay. I think this will help us. Okay. This will help us. Let's say this is the table. Okay. This is table contacts. Okay. Contacts. All right. This is table contact. So table contact has ID, user ID. Let's say ID, which is user ID, the first one. Okay. It needs to have another ID, which is the second one. Okay. As you can see, we are starting to have some complexities here. Okay. Or some sort of a confusion. This is the first ID. Okay. The first one, it means that this ID has a contact, which is this ID. Okay. It makes up, obviously this, what can I say? Obviously this contacts table needs to have its own ID. Okay. It needs to have its own ID, which is it must have its own unique ID. So as you can see, we are starting to have some confusion here. So I think it's much better if we might have the prefix here, which is user ID. I think this was a good idea so that we cannot be confused. Okay. My apologies about that. Okay. And then here, we are going to have contact. Is it going to be contact or contacts? Now let's stick with one system. Okay. If this is user ID, not users ID. Okay. So even here, let's just say contact ID. And then here we are going to have a user ID and another user ID. Okay. So we need to manage this relationship. Let's say I'm querying the contacts for an ID which is 001, which is here. Okay. So it's going to be 001. Okay. But it can also be 001 here. Okay. So what do I mean by that? If I've got a contact 001 here as let's say the owner, let's say, let me just type here owner, and let's say owned. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So this ID is the one that owns this one. Okay. But if we've got 001 here, the owner is 001. and then the owned it's 002, but at the same time you might have another owner which is 003, okay, owning 001. Okay, so if I'm saying let me select all contacts with the user ID which is 001, I'm going to get this as an owner and I'm going to get this as the owned, which is that's not true. We need to find a way of indicating, okay, we need to find a way of indicating that this contact, okay, this contact is owned by the other one. Okay, so um I think how are we going to do this? Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to query from contacts. Okay, so if okay, let's see. Oh, now I see, guys. Okay, my apologies about this. Now I see. What if we can have a unique record here? Okay, let's just type here unique ID. Okay, or we can just be specific and say record ID. These IDs are just going to be unique IDs, exactly the same as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. They are just meaningless, okay? But since it's a good design practice to always have a primary key, so this one serves that purpose. Now let's change things. Let's let the user ID, the owner, okay? The owner needs to be the user ID because it's the owner. The owned needs to be the contact ID. Okay. Okay, check here. So the owned need to be a contact ID. Okay, which is this one is the owned. Okay. Let's see the difference now. Okay. So number one, why the owned contact it has got a contact ID? Simply because this user comes here. Okay, let's say this one. Because this user owns some contacts. Okay. This user owns a contact. This user says, I have a contact. This user says, I have a contact. Okay. I add, a user can add a contact. I think the user has a contact. That's the relationship. Okay. It's not what it does. Okay. The user has contact. Okay. The user, let's see why I'm confused now. The user creates a chat. The user creates a status. Then the user has a contact. Okay. It's not going to some sort of create a contact, right? But yes, when I'm adding a contact, I'm not creating it. Okay, now I see. Okay, meaning that I will have to choose from the contacts that are already there. So if I want to add you in my system, in my contact list, you must be registered. I can't register you. Okay, so I think the chat system work that way, or social medias. Okay, I can't register someone. This is not an accounting system where I can register a client. So I think this relationship is fine. The user has, because it's not going to create it. Each person is going to create his or her own account. You can just search for that person and add. So you are just associating that person to yourself. This is perfect. Okay, so user has. Remember here on contact, we are still having users, but we need to identify these users. There is a user that has a contact, which is it's going to be this one, the same user ID, because we know that this one has. And the one that is being owned, it must be under contact ID. Why are we associating it with the contact? Okay, simply because it is a contact. Okay, for instance, this user ID has this contact ID, which is 002. The contact ID is still the same user ID, which is here. This might seem complex, but I hope you do get it. Okay, so we need to change these IDs, okay, so that they could be different. Now let's run through this. Okay, let's say I am querying. Okay, let's say select all from contacts. Okay, where user ID. As soon as I'm saying where user ID, okay, let me type what I'm saying. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, let's say select all. I don't know why this is happening. Select all. My apologies about that. Okay, select all from contacts where contact ID, where user ID is equal to 001. Okay, this will mean that whenever this 001 adds a contact, okay, it's going to appear here, okay, as 001 001. Let me just make an example here. Okay, a table, an example of a table. Okay, we've got 001. Okay, let's say user ID, contact ID. I don't really mind much about the record ID. Okay, let's see what we can do here. We got an ID of 001. This ID of 001 added a contact, which is 002, which is his own friend. Okay, these ones we don't really have to mind much about them. Okay, so I can select all from contact where 00 ID. Let's say the same guy. Okay, the same ID, which is this one. Now it has a contact, which is 003. Okay, and also now 002 has got, let's say, 3 more contacts. Okay, 002 has got 3 more contacts. Okay, 3 more contacts. Okay, let's see. Okay, so 002 has got contact number 6, number 3, and number 4. As you can see here, we've got a mix of things. Okay, we've got a mix of things. We've got 003 here, and at the same time, let's say we've got 003 here. Okay, we've got also 003 here. Okay, at the same time, on the left, we've got 002. Okay, let's make it green. And we've got 002 here. Okay, so if we've got the same numbers as an ID and as a contact ID, this then means, okay, my apologies guys, somebody is knocking. Let me quickly pause the video. Okay guys, my apologies about that, and also my apologies about this complexity. Okay, what am I trying to establish here? Okay, I'm trying to help you not to memorize things, okay, because sometimes we follow YouTube tutorials and we see some relationships. We don't really know what goes on and how could I create something from scratch. Okay, so I hope you are enjoying this exercise and the complexities that we are getting here. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here, I want to make sure that when I'm querying the data that I want, I get exactly what I want. As you can see, we've got these IDs which are available here and they are available here. Okay, um usually this table, it's called a detailed table. Okay, this table, okay, these contacts, but more about that later. Okay, let's just unsolve this thing. So let's say I'm querying select all from contact where user ID is 001. Which one are we going to get? we are going to get this and this one. So we are going to get two records. Okay, that means the records that we have, the query that we get here just simply means that this ID 001 has got what can I say, it has got two contacts. Let me just do this. So this has got two contacts, which is 002 and 003. That means we can access the contact ID. Okay, we know that the contact ID, it's still the same as the user ID. Okay, but we're just making it different here. Okay, I think this one works. Okay, let's say we want to know the contacts which are owned by 002. Okay, where contacts is equal to 002. Okay, so where user ID it's 002. So as you can see, once we get here, we can get this and we can get this. That means we're going to get this one and this one. Okay, I think this one, I think this is somewhat all right. Okay, under what circumstances would we want to, let's say, use this contact ID? I don't think there is such a query where we want to know um who. Okay, let's say maybe we might ask it this way. Um, let's see. Let's say I want to know as a user, let's say, who has got me in their contact list. Okay, who has got me in their contact list? Um, and then I am going to, okay, let me write it, even this one. Okay, let's say this one is just I'm just playing around, testing my mind and doing an unnecessary challenge. Okay, I'm just I want to see how could this be used in reverse. Okay, who has me in their contact list? So that means somebody can have you and you might not have them. It's possible. Okay, it's highly possible. For instance, on WhatsApp, I can add your number, meanwhile I don't have yours. Okay, so let's say for some reason in the system, I want to know who has me in their contact list and I am 002, let's say, or let's say 003, since 003 is repeating this side. So if we want to execute this query, that will mean that we have to take this query as is. Let me copy it. Okay, the only thing that we have to do, we just need to change the field. Okay, instead of where user ID, we are going to say where contact ID, where contact ID is equal to 3. Let's see. Okay, this is the answer to this. Who has me in their contact list? Okay, so let's see. We are going to get this. That means 001 has you in their contact list. Is that true? Yes. Okay, this has this. So this has this. And then if we come to 003 again, also 002 has you in their contact list. So as you can see, guys, okay, this field might be useful, okay, in case you just want to know. Okay, I'm not sure if we are going to need a query like that in the system, but now we know that there are possibilities. I think I am happy with this. Okay, I think I'm happy with everything here. So what does that mean? We've got our user ID, and then here we've got our record ID, we've got the contact ID, and we've got the user ID. Okay, so I can delete this. I think this contact will work fine. Okay, we've got contact here. Okay, at the same time, contact has a relationship with users. Okay, is it worth mentioning? Not really. Okay, we will discuss that, or we will just add it in a Prisma schema. Okay, because the Prisma schema will need it. So can't we note it? Okay, let's note it, because maybe we might forget, or let's just note everything. This has got the relationship with users. Okay, this has got the relationship with users. Let's see. This has got a relationship with users. Okay. All right. We are moving forward, guys. Okay. What else do I want to do now? A user has got the contact. Okay. A user has got the status. Okay. A user can create a status. Statuses. Okay. Let's see the status ID. Status ID, and what else? I think I need the user ID as well. Okay, the user ID as well. So for now, let's make a status to be only, what can I say? One thing. Okay. Is there a need for us to have multiple statuses, like status 1, status 2, status 3? Do we really need that? Let me think. Do we really need that? Okay. It will mean that if we do that, we will need to have master statuses and the detail statuses. Okay. Remember, here we are designing the database model. We need to design it in such a way that it suits our need. Maybe later you never know, maybe we might want to implement this feature. Okay, cool. Now, because we are getting deep into statuses, it looks like to me we are going to have a status ID which is owned by this user, and I'm happy with that. But where am I going to get the statuses? So there is another table here which it was somewhat hidden. Okay, which is a statuses details. Okay. Statuses details. These were entities, these were not tables. Okay. So now that we are dealing with tables, and then we are discovering that we need statuses details, so that in case we want to keep track of multiple statuses. Okay. Let's see. So this is a status ID. Okay. So here we are going to have the record ID as well, because this is just here to make the table unique. Okay. So we are going to have a status ID. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't think I really need this red thing here. I don't think it has the importance. Okay, we can make it black. Okay, so let's say I'm adding a status. It's my image. Coding. Okay, so that is going to be saved here on statuses as one record because it's one status. Okay, yes, it's one status. It's my picture, and I'm coding. What if maybe I've got another status? Okay, that means this ID will still have another status ID. Okay, and then it's one status because you're coding. So it looks like to me, okay, it looks like to me you can have multiple statuses here. Okay, which is, I think, that's not the right way to think about it. Let's go to the UI, guys. Let's try to unpack or break this down a little bit. The reason why I have the detail here, let me show you why. This is what I was trying to solve, let alone that I didn't put it in plain English or the simplest way I know how. Okay, you know, okay, so when I'm updating a status on WhatsApp, each status, it's like a separate entity. It doesn't have to be groups. It doesn't have to be group of statuses. It doesn't have to. It really doesn't have to do. I really need the detail here. So what I was thinking is I'm going to have a status ID here, and then here I'm going to have multiple records where maybe this status might have an image here. And then there will be the same record, which is status, which will have another image, okay, which is okay. Let me do this. My apologies about that. Let's see. I need, okay. Let's say this is WhatsApp. And these are the statuses, okay. It looks like a status. It's an entity unto itself. Okay, it doesn't need a detail, but let's check. Okay, so this is a table. This is a table that has got the statuses. Okay, so that means this status 1, it's recorded here on statuses. Okay, so what does this comes with? It comes with a unique ID, yes. Who it belongs to, yes. Okay, let's say message. Okay, do we really have to have images on the statuses? Mm, let's say, let's say, let's say you do have images. What must I do? Must I add images on statuses? Let me add images on statuses. And then what am I going to do? Let's say type. There will be a type of status. That means, is this status a message only? Or is this, what can I do? Or maybe if I have got URL here, image src. Okay, for now let's keep things simple. Okay, we will modify this as time goes by. So I've got record number 1, which is, it has got a status ID, uniquely identifies this. Let me just duplicate this just in case. Okay, so this is status ID 001. The user ID, it's me, Matthew. And then the message, hey guys, I've got a YouTube channel. That's a status message. Do I have a picture? Yes. Okay, let's say there will be a picture here. So it looks like to me, when you have a picture, you cannot have the text. Okay, let's see. That is not the case. Let's continue. So I think this satisfies this. Okay, but what if then I've got another status? So we are going to go to statuses, and then the status ID is going to be 002, and then it's going to have in my ID, because I'm still Matthew, and there will be a message, and there will be an src. It's going to be this one. What if I want the third one? Then it's going to be this one. So let's say I want a list of statuses by user 001. So I'm going to say select all from statuses where user is equal to user ID is equal to 001. Then I'm going to get the statuses. What if you want to delete the status? Then the status will disappear here. I think this guys make sense. Okay, this makes sense. I don't think the details table was that necessary. Okay, so I'm going to status ID, the user ID, the message, and the src. Okay, and that is it. I think I'm fine with status. Statuses has got a relationship with users. And then let's check chats. Okay, let's check chats. Okay, we are going to have chat ID. That is it. Okay, what is going on in chats? Let's see. Let's see. I've got this user ID. Okay, this user ID 001 wrote this message. Okay, wrote this message. So, Now it looks like I need to identify all the messages for a certain chat. Okay, all the messages for it. Let's say I've got chat ID 001. Here, chat ID, it's a primary key. I can't repeat it. Okay, so it looks like to me, I must have a chat ID that has got the participants, okay, which is the people who are involved. Let's see. Okay, let's start it this way. I, as Matthew, ID 001, I create a chat. So chat ID will be created automatically. My user ID will be here. I don't want my message to be here. Let's say for some reason I have a detailed table. Okay, this table is going to be chat details. So here I'm only going to have one chat. Okay, it makes sense. If I'm talking to this guy, okay, this chat it's between me as an owner. Okay, no, this is not an owner. Where is my profile as an owner? Okay, it's not here. It doesn't matter. Let's say I am an owner, and then it's between me as an owner and the client. Okay, I hope you understand that. So the chat ID or the chat table represent this conversation. Okay, it's like this ID uniquely identify this conversation. It's not the actual convo and the messages, no. Okay, so it's going to be represented here by this chat ID, the unique chat ID. Okay, and then who is going to be here as the user ID? Okay, because whether I start a conversation or you start a conversation on the other side, it doesn't mean we own the conversation. Okay, so let's say there is no ID that really owns this conversation in a way because it doesn't belong to anyone. Okay, it's not like here this user ID has a contact. No, nobody owns this, and that is it. Okay, and do you remember that WhatsApp has got some delete from me and delete from everyone? Okay, I think now we are getting into that problem. Okay, that's where we are because now at the moment I'm saying nobody owns this chat. Nobody owns it. Okay, so meaning that who has the right to delete it? Because if I delete it here, this chat ID, it disappears on both of us. Okay, so in a way, for now, let's say nobody has the right to delete the chats for now, okay? Until we pass this certain level of complexity, let's leave it like this. And then on chat detail, we are going to have a chat ID, okay? That will appear more than once, meaning that I've got this chat ID, which is whenever I've got a chat ID, it means that somebody said something to someone. For instance, we've got this chat ID, which represent this guy and the client. So on the details table, chat details table, should we have an ID here, let's say the chat ID 001, it means that somebody started a conversation between these two guys. Let's say this guy was greeting the client. Then we are going to record that as let me write this maybe 004. That is a conversation from me to client, okay, to the client, and I'm saying hi. Okay. And then what if the client is responding back? This means that we are going to have also 004 again. 004 again, it's the client to me is saying hey. Okay. Okay, so let's try again. So when is the chat ID is going to be created? How is it going to be created? Can I assume that whenever you add, yes, whenever you add someone to your contact list, and a chat ID must be created automatically Why? Simply because in the end, you are going to talk to each other. So it's not like you added them, I'm not sure, for the case of watching them. No, you add them because you want to create a conversation. So this will always be created when you are adding a contact. Okay. Whenever this is being created, then a chat ID is going to be created. Okay. So let me note that. Okay. Let me just make a note here. So whenever you create, you add a contact automatically you are creating a chat ID. Okay, it must be here. Okay, once you add the contact, there will be a chat ID. Now, my question will be, what if the other person is also adding you? Okay, let's see if that won't be an error. Okay, now I'm happy with this one. Let's say as user 001, I've added contact 002. That means me and contact 002, we've got a chat ID because I initiated that. All right. What if 002 at the same time is adding me? Okay, it's vice versa. Now 002 at the same time, before I speak to him, 002 is adding me into their contact list. Am I going to have a new chat ID whereby we've got two of them? Okay, which is the first relationship will be 001 added 002 as a contact, and chat ID was created. Do you want to tell me when 002 adds 001 as a contact, a chat ID must be created? This is what I don't agree with. Okay, so meaning that a chat, it's a bi-directional unique identifier. It doesn't mean it identifies only 001 to 002 and it becomes different when it's 002 to 001. No, it's bi-directional. Whether it's this one or this one or this one or this one, we only have one chat ID for this because it means that you guys are in a conversation. And whether I started the conversation or whether the other guy started it, it's one conversation. We need to have one record. Whether I'm the one who sent a sticker to them or we need to have one record. Okay. So this will mean that every time you add a contact, automatically you are creating a chat ID. Okay, you are automatically creating a chat ID provided that what? Provided that unless I think we need the on chat ID we need both of these ID, right? I think so. We need them. Okay, so I was going to say the chat ID provided that, is this the right English? Provided that, okay, let's see. When you add a contact, automatically you are creating a chat ID. Okay, provided that okay, when you're adding, provided that both user IDs are not associated with any chat ID. That means these guys didn't communicate before. So it looks like to me It looks like to me, whenever I'm adding someone, okay, automatically I need to check, don't we have don't we have a conversation before? That will mean if we have a conversation before, how could I add you? So the idea of adding something that we have doesn't exist. So this scenario won't ever happen in real life. Okay. So let me rephrase what I'm trying to say. Let me try to, what can I say? Refresh my mind and collect my English data bundles. Okay, now they have run out. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever you add a contact, it means that you and that contact don't have a conversation, or it means that, okay, let me do it this way. Whenever I'm adding a contact, I need to check the contact that I'm adding. Am I part of his contact list? And how am I going to do that? Cool, now I see. I am I am user ID 001. I'm going to add 002. Okay. So before I associate myself with ID 002, because when I add 002, I will create a corresponding um I will create a corresponding chat ID. Okay. That means to uniquely create a conversation. Something doesn't make sense in what I'm saying in a way. Adding a contact automatically creates a chat ID. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Let me change it. Let's see. Let me try it differently. Whenever you add a contact, you don't really create a chat ID because you haven't established the communication. You are not we are not in conversation with the person. That's what it means. So you guys don't have a chat ID. They are just in your contacts. Let's say they are adding you to their contact. Still, it means the same thing. Okay. The only thing that won't happen, you won't have two contacts of the same number. Okay. Cool. So that means I can add you as my contact and you can add me as a contact unless we start a conversation. That means when the conversation, okay, whenever you add a contact, no. Whenever you start a conversation, automatically you create a chat ID. Let's say I'm saying hi, 001, ID 001 is saying hi to ID 002. Okay, it makes sense. I'm going to create a chat ID because I'm saying we are in connection, we are speaking, we are in a conversation. That's why we have a chat ID. Once we have a chat ID, it means that somebody said something. It makes sense. This chat ID can only exist once there is a message that has been sent. It's either from this side to this side to the other side, or from this user to the other user. So whenever I'm saying hi, then we're going to create a chat ID, and that chat ID will do what? And that chat ID will have its details. So the chat ID will have the chat ID, the details, will have the user ID, and will have a message. For instance, I was saying hi to this contact, a chat ID was created, and a message was put into the chat details under, let's say, 001 as a chat ID. Okay, and I'm also user 001. So my message to the client, which is another user, has been recorded as as this chat ID. Yes, as this record in detail, and then it's going to say hi. Let's say it's me saying hi. Let's say this person says hi back. Okay, meaning that they need to carry the same ID, the same chat ID on their side. So when you are saying hi to them, you are also sending the chat ID to their user interface so that it can have it. It's part of the record, it has it. So um so let's say this is getting complicated, okay? So let's say I'm saying hi to you. Okay, let me make a typical example. Okay, initial convo, okay, or conversation, which is me to client, okay. Let's say chat ID has been created to be 008, my user ID 001. So we can record this chat ID here. We can record me here. What will be my message? Do I really need a message here? I don't think so. Okay. And then the message will be recorded. Sorry, I thought this is chats. Okay. So this 008 will be recorded here. Let me just say 008 will be recorded here on chats. And the message that I sent, which is hi. Where is hi? I didn't put it. Okay, which is hi to the client, it's going to be saved on the details. Okay, so when you get into the details, do we have 008? Yes, we have. We're going to put 008 here as a chat ID. Who is saying that? Who is in conversation or under this chat ID, which is 001? Where is it? 001 is going to be here. What is he saying on the chat detail? Is saying hi. This makes sense. Okay. How do we know who are you talking to? Do we know that based on the chat here? Okay. Um, there will be a chat ID here, but at the same time, there will be a user ID. Okay. There will be a user ID. This is your user ID. But does it mean that in this chats table, I know who you are chatting to? No, I don't. Like here, I don't. So when you are actually starting a conversation, do you really have the person that you are starting a conversation with? Yes, because you've added that person. So let's change things. Let's say this is from and this is to. My apologies about that. I don't know how I got here. And this is to. Let's say everything is here to 002. So meaning that on chat details now we can know that the conversation was from this guy to this guy. If we want more details about it, we can go to the chat ID. Maybe we might not even need a user ID here. We might just get the message. So this is just a general message, which is hi. How are you going to know if it was going from who to who? You are going to use this chat. Okay. Let's see if this makes a perfect sense. Okay. This guy, when is initiating the conversation, everything can be recorded clearly because all the data that they need is here. For instance, it's going to have a chat ID, which is 008. It makes sense. From him, we've got his own ID. To the person that he's already added in his database contact list. That means we've got the ID of that person. Makes sense to me. So this means this is clear. Adding a chat, it's clear and it's simple. Now, what is the message? So why do I have to take the message to here? It's simply because we need many messages under one chat ID, which that cannot happen in here, because here we need to have one unique chat ID. So now I understand why one must have chat detail. So what were you saying from this to this? I was saying hi. Okay, meaning that this can work perfect and everything will be recorded. Now let's look at it from a different perspective. This guy 002, okay, initial conversation. That means this person is initiating a conversation. Okay, so let's say receiving a message, which is you are communicating to me. I have to receive a message. So how do I query? Okay, so let's say I need to get um from where? Which table do I start in? I think I start from chats, and I need to, let's say, select all from chats. Let's say select all from chats where who is equal to your user ID, which is 002. Okay, remember, we're not going to use sockets. Okay, we are going to use React query. So in a way, when somebody sends a message, it's not going to automatically appear on your screen like a push notification. React query needs to always check once in a while, do you have a message? So that's how we are going to do it. So now, when I'm receiving a message, this is how I'm receiving a message. This is how I receive a message. Select all from chats where 2 is equal to 002, meaning that here I'm going to get all the messages that have been sent to me. That's too much. That is too much of you to do so. That is too much. That means every time this queries, let's say it's gonna get, let's say 10,000, because it's 10,000 of those. And then it also needs to know, what, which one in this 10,000 is the new one, that like a conversation that you have never been part of, so that it can understand it as a new conversation. As you can see, guys, something is not going to work well here. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that you guys, before you communicate, you need to establish the communication, some sort of a connection, so that this guy, when they are pulling the data, they can have the ID, which is this ID, the conversation ID. Imagine if this guy was saying, select all from chats where not 2 now, where chat ID, because the guy already knows now where chat ID is equal to 008. This guy will get the same message as this guy, because it's the same conversation. Okay, so meaning that it's going to get that from where? Is he going to get this from chat or from chat details? Okay, I think he's going to get it from chat details. Okay, from chat details. Okay, now I think this is starting to make sense. When these guys, they will first have to establish a chat ID, so that they can both be aware of the chat ID. Okay, so let's revisit this. What if we can delete this here? Okay, what if we can delete this here? Let's say I'm just testing, and then here we are going to have, let's say we take this to here. Okay, that means the message was from 001, it was going to, and here is the message. Okay, so this guy is selecting all from chats where chat ID is 008. It's going to select all, not from chats. My apologies about that. From chat detail. From chat detail. Okay, 008. So he will get this high because this high it's under 008. If he wants to know who was saying something to who, he can get to and he can get from. So the user interface can know it was from this and it was going to this one. So it can know who said it. Who said hi? That means the from was the person who was saying hi. Okay. So what if in this chat detail we can only have from? Okay. If you know your chat ID, that means you are involved in the conversation. Should you not know the chat ID, that means you are not involved in the conversation. You guys didn't establish connection. Okay. So if I'm querying this conversation, it must be that I am involved there. There won't be any case in real life where somebody is querying a conversation that is not part of, because you guys need to do some sort of a meet and greet. It's like accepting the invite. I think so. When you are accepting the invite, then it will mean that you guys can start to chat. Okay. Now I see. Okay. So I think this is fine. So we will always have from here. This is what he says. What if then the other guy has responded? And then we are going to say also from 002. Okay. Let's see if both of these guys can pull this data and it will make sense. This guy has got this 008 and he queries here. The first message is from 001. So the UI of this guy can know that this is the person who was talking and they were talking to me. That means I was receiving. And then at the same time, he gets this, which is, let's say, I'm a bit lost, but I'm going to dig myself out of this. Okay, we are almost done, guys. Okay, please be patient. So I'm a recipient. I'm this guy, which is guy number 2, the one whom a message was sent to, and I've got 008 as a chat ID. Okay, so that means I've got the key to a conversation, and obviously if I've got the key to a conversation, I'm in a conversation with only one person, because I can't accept, this is not a group chat. I can't accept like many people. So if I've got an ID, it means that I'm part of that conversation. It's either I have accepted or I have requested, but anyhow, we are in common understanding or in common agreement with the person that we are communicating, we are talking. So now once I get here with 008, I only find a from 002, which is from me. Okay. What does that mean in terms of the UI? It means that this message will be green and it will be on the right. The following message is from him. It will mean that it's going to be right after mine. Okay, right after my message, at the bottom of my message, but it needs to be on the left and it needs to be a little bit blue. Why? Simply because a message is not mine, it's from him. And then whenever I get from me, then that means this is my message. From him, that his message. So we are in a conversation and I only rely on from. Where is this message from? Because if it's from me, who am I was talking to? Given it's the other person, it's 001. So that's why the system has to be smart enough in such a way that it only want to know where is this message from, because there can only be 2 of us in this room. Okay, there can be only 2 of us in this conversation, and the ID of this chat conversation, it's 008. What does this mean? It means that both of us, which is me and you, okay, me and you, we are aware of this 008. This is the conversation. We are aware of it. Okay, when we want to pull the information, we are using this. This is chat details. Okay, so when we want to pull this conversation, we are using this 008. Okay, so on my side, I am pulling this with this 008. I'm getting a list of conversation. Here are these messages. Okay, the chat ID is the same. Okay, so what differs is it from me or from him? Okay, um let's see how different it is. Let's say this was a user ID. Okay, let's say this was a user ID instead of from. It was a user ID. Okay, what does this mean? It means that should your user ID be here, that means you have said something. That means you have said something. We don't even really have to say it's from. We can say you have said something. If you have said something, it must be that you were saying something to the other guy. Okay, for instance, let's say this is user 001. Okay, this is user 001 and this is user 002. Okay, let me just make these a little bit red. These are the users. Okay, right. Now, let's make an example of the real life data. Okay, real life data, starting from the chat ID. Okay, chat ID, and then user ID, and then message. Okay, let's see. All right, chat ID, it's 008. The user ID, it's 001. What does that mean? It means that 001 was talking. Why don't we have the person who he was talking to? There can only be two of them, okay? If 001 is talking, he must be talking to 008 because he must be talking to 002 because they are bound by this common chat ID. So there can only be two people in one room, which is the chat ID. So we don't really need from two. Okay, and his message was hi. Okay, let's pull this data from this side to see it will make sense to the UI. Select all from chat details where chat ID is 8. This guy is going to get this, okay? And he is going to compare because he knows himself. If this ID is equal to me, the user ID is equal to me, I was saying this. Therefore, that means this message is going to be green, okay? Let's say this is going to be a message that is going to be green on the left, okay? Because this is me, okay? Let's say the same guy is pulling the same data, okay? Select all from chat detail where chat ID is equal to 8. This guy is going to get the same high because they are sharing, they were in conversation. But because he knows himself, he is 002. If this ID it's not 002, that means it's not him, so this can't be green. It has to be light blue, okay? And that is it. And I think that will be it, okay? So it looks like this model is going to work, okay? This one, it's going to work. Let's test something. Remember, you can only see um, one conversation on your screen at a time, okay? So what does that mean? That means as soon as you click on the client, your query will use the ID which is 008, the one that was established when you guys were accepting each other, okay? That means there must be important to note chat, let's say chat on accepted request. Okay, that means you chat on accepted request. So once you accept my request, or once you accept somebody's request, which is client's request, let's say he's going to be part of your list, and the client request will always carry the 008 as an ID in them, so that when you click on them, okay, the ID that is in here will be used in this query. Select all from chat detail, where chat ID is 008, and you will get these messages arranged in this manner. If on this chat, on the first chat, it's me, it's going to be like this. If on the second chat it's not me, it's going to be like this. I think that is it. Okay, I think that is it. So chat will have a chat ID. Okay, so now I'm thinking, now that we've got um chat on acceptance of the request, okay, as you can see, this table as chat doesn't really make sense. Okay, there's nothing chats here. What if we can make this as request? Because now if you are going to accept a request, there must be a record that you have accepted a request. Okay, and this chat ID, the one that you guys are, that makes you common, that binds you, it's not a chat ID necessarily, this 008, it's a request ID. Okay, that means if we have, it's a request ID. Okay, it's a request ID. So let's say I'm going to send to you an invite. That means a request ID will be created here. Okay, um by who? I think I need to know. um I, let's say 001, who, okay, friend request has been sent, let's say sent by, sent to 002, and we need to keep the status, or yeah, the status. That means it's false, that means not accepted yet. Or let's say we have pending, we've got pending, or accepted, or rejected. Okay, so this is what binds you together. So the request binds the two of you. You guys agree to have some sort of a small chat room, which is going to be labeled as the request ID, which was formerly a chat ID here. But now this 008 is going to be, what can I say, a request ID. So once we get into chats, this doesn't necessarily has to be, let's say, this doesn't necessarily have to be chat detailed, because there is no master chat. Okay, we just have to have a chat ID that moves from 0 to 1, or it's just going to be unique, and we are going to have a foreign key, which is request ID. Okay, so whenever I click here, this has got a request ID. Okay, so this means that it's going to go to the chats. Okay, apologies about this. It's going to go to the chats, and inside the chats, it's going to look for, that request ID. If there is no request ID, that means you guys didn't communicate. You've accepted each other, but you didn't communicate. Okay, that means you don't have conversations. It makes sense. Once you start to initiate a conversation, then the request ID will be here on chats. I think that's all. Okay, let's see. Do I have all my tables? I've got users, it's this one. I've got contacts, it's this one. I've got statuses, it's this one. Okay. I've got statuses, it's this one. I've got requests, like friend requests, it's this one. And I've got chats, and it's this one. It looks like I'm done, guys. Okay. It took me longer, obviously, as I've told you that even me, I didn't have a clue as to how is this going to turn out. Okay, it will mean that before I continue with the video, I also need to watch the video just like you, to try to understand what have I done and how have I done it, so that I could be ready to create my schemas. So next we are going to create the form schemas. In case you don't know what a schema is, let me just show you here. It's something like this. Okay, the models and the schemas, it's something like this. Guys, I'm Mtt, the designer and developer. If this makes sense to you, please don't forget, check the link in the description below. I've got two awesome Udemy courses, the advanced one and the Next.js one for beginners. If you might want to contact me, please just click here on the discovery call. Let's get one-on-one. Let's talk. I can help you with whatever that you want me to help you with. I'm Mtt, the designer and developer. See you on the next one.